Hello children, today we are going to revise the chapters Transportation of materials in plants and reproduction in plants. Transportation of materials in plants and animals. So first we are going to discuss what is osmosis. Children, osmosis is a process by which roots of the plant, they take up water. Okay, in this process the root hair, children, as we know, the root hair are in close contact with water in the soil. The concentration of water molecules is greater outside the root hair than inside. So water moves into the root hair by osmosis process. Okay. Next is what is transpiration. Transpiration means roots that keep on taking water, and excess of water is move out from the stomata, and this removal of excess water from leaves is called transpiration. And children, what is translocation? The food prepared by leaves is transported in all parts of the plant in the form of solution through a process. That process is known as translocation. And children, the movement of water molecule takes place through xylem pipes, and movement of food takes place through phloem. Okay. Transpiration is very important. It helps in it maintains the suction pull. Now we are coming to the transportation of materials in animals. Children, in animals, so many metabolic activities are taking place and they require so many things. So transportation is required in animals. Like we are going to talk about transportation in humans. We have a proper system that is called well-developed pickup and delivery system, and that system is known as circulatory system. Circulatory system consists of blood vessels, okay. In blood, children, blood we have divided the blood in two parts. First is plasma, and second, this is liquid part, and second, the solid part, that are blood cells. Okay, solid part is what? Blood cells. Blood contains two things. Liquid part, plasma, and plasma contains 90% water. 90% water and 2.5% like waste, food waste and enzymes. Okay, rest is what? Waste and enzymes. Now come to the blood cells. There are three types of blood cells. First is WBC, white blood cells, and they are larger in size, larger than the RBCs. The main job is to fight against diseases by destroying harmful bacteria and other foreign materials. Second, RBC. Full form of RBC is red blood cells. They are disc shaped. They contain a red color protein that is called hemoglobin. And it contains red pigment, and that pigment is what? Red in color. That gives red color to the RBC. This pigment, this pigment absorbs oxygen and transport this oxygen to all the cells of the body. And children, you know, oxygen combines with hemoglobin to form a compound called oxyhemoglobin. When blood reaches cells that need oxygen, oxyhemoglobin breaks down to oxygen and hemoglobin. The oxygen is used by the cell for respiration process. Now third type of cell is what? Platelets. Very important. They are smaller in size than red blood cells. They help the blood to clot whenever there is wound on the body. This blocks the flow of blood and prevents blood loss. Next, we are going to talk about blood vessels. There are three types of blood vessels, children. First, arteries, veins and capillaries. Children, arteries, they carry oxygenated blood away from the heart. As the heart pumps blood into the arteries, the blood flows rapidly and at a high pressure. Arteries therefore have thick elastic walls. To feel the, children, if you want to feel that blood rushing through the arteries, you touch this portion just below this thumb. You can feel this. You place two fingers in the hollow spot on the wrist. The throbbing sensation or pulse that you can feel is actually what is going. Blood is rushing through the arteries. Next, veins. Veins carry deoxygenated blood back to the heart. Veins have thin walls. They have valves which allow the blood to flow only toward the heart. Means they allow the blood to flow in one direction towards the heart. Okay, next is capillaries. They are very thin walled vessels. Very thin walled vessels. We call that capillaries. Capillaries are thinnest blood vessels, about as thick as a strand of our hair. They have very thin walls through which oxygen, digested food, carbon dioxide and other waste products are exchanged between the blood and the surrounding cell. Now children, we are going to discuss about heart. Third part is of circulatory system. First is blood, second is blood vessel and third is heart. So we are going to discuss now heart. Heart, we know children, heart has two upper chambers. These are called auricle. This is right auricle. This is left auricle. This is separated by septum, auricle septum. This is very thick walled and this is thin walled. This is thin walled and this is thick walled. Okay, ventricles are thin walled. They are also separated by septum. Okay, separated by septum. This is right ventricle and this is left ventricle. Children, what happened? How exchange of blood takes place? The right auricle receives deoxygenated blood from various parts of the body through the main vein, and we call that main vein vena cava. This is main vein. Okay, through the veins and relax when this relax, it receives the blood from the main vein. Okay, now the auricle, right auricle is squeezed and what happened? The walls open and the blood goes to right ventricle. This is what kind of blood? Deoxygenated. This deoxygenated blood goes to the right ventricle when auricle is squeezed, and this time ventricle is relaxed. Now ventricle is squeezing, that time there is a tube through which it goes, and this is what? Pulmonary artery. This is the only artery which carries deoxygenated blood from ventricle, right ventricle to the lung. In lung, purification of blood takes place and the purified blood or oxygenated blood comes from the lung to the when this left auricle relaxes. Children, simultaneously both are relaxing. From here deoxygenated blood is coming, and from here oxygenated blood is coming. Okay, when both the auricle squeezes, this deoxygenated blood comes to the right ventricle and oxygenated blood comes to the left ventricle. And here also a tube is there. When ventricle squeezes, what happens? Deoxygenated blood goes to the pulmonary artery and oxygenated blood goes to the main artery. This is main artery. From main artery, blood goes to the all part of the body. All parts of the body. Okay. Now next we are going to discuss what do you mean by heartbeat? Children, what happened when this auricle contract and when the blood goes to the ventricle? You know the walls are very thin and weak, so it produces very faint sound, and that sound is called lub sound. Okay, but when they squeezes like ventricles and the blood is going into the pulmonary artery and blood is going into the main artery, that time a strong sound comes and we call that dub sound. Okay, so this is what dub sound, we say that this is what heartbeat. And this is like we are able to hear just because of the squeezing of these chambers. What is pulse? Pulse is related to heartbeat. You know, when the blood moves in arteries. Okay. When ventricle is squeezed, the arteries, what happened that time? Arteries, they get blood and they stretches. Okay. And when the blood is coming to the ventricle, that time arteries relax. So we count the pulse. Okay. So that is what the stretching and relaxing of the arteries with each heartbeat is felt as throbbing, and that throbbing is called pulse. Now come to the excretory system. Children, what is the function of excretory system? To remove the waste material from our body. So the process of removal of metabolic waste from the body is known as excretion. In human excretory system consists of one pair of kidney. It's bean shaped. Ureters are coming from the kidney, and these ureters, they open in urinary bladder, and urinary bladder opens in urethra. Children, there are small filtering units. They are called nephrons. Nephrons, there are million of nephrons in the kidney. Nephrons are the tiny filtering units of the kidney. They filter out excess water, salts and urea from the blood. As it passes through them, the clean blood leaves the kidney and continues its circulation in the body. The waste removed by kidney from the urine, it passes from the kidney through two tubes called ureters, okay, into the elastic sac bag called the urinary bladder. Okay, the bladder stores the urine until it is excreted from the body through the urethra. A healthy human being passes out around 1.5 to 2.5 liters of urine every day. And children, what urine contains? Urine consists of 95% water, 2.5% urea and 2.5% other waste product. Sometimes what happens, kidney does not function properly. That time we need to take the patient for the dialysis or for the transplantation of kidney. What is dialysis process? Children, when a person's kidneys are not damaged, not functioning properly, doctor removes body waste by medical process, and that process is known as dialysis. Okay. And next is sweating. Children, excretion takes place through sweating also. So what is sweat? Like excess water and salts, they remove by sweat glands from our skin. Okay, so this is also the way we can like our body remove excess of salts and water by sweating. Now children, our next topic is reproduction in plants. Reproduction takes place two ways. We can say sexual and asexual reproduction. Okay. Reproduction takes place two ways. Asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Children, asexual reproduction is a reproduction in this only one parent is required, resulting in offspring that are exact copies of the parents. In plants, asexual reproduction occurs without seeds. And the ways are, I am going to tell you. First is fragmentation. Example is Spirogyra. In fragmentation, the body of the parent breaks into distinct pieces, each of which can produce an offspring. Example, Spirogyra. Second, budding. It takes place in yeast. Yeast is a fungi, single-celled fungi. In budding, a bulb-like projection called bud occurs on the body of the parent organism. This bud grows into an offspring and may eventually break away from the parent. Third is spore formation. Third is spore formation. What is a spore, children? A spore is a tiny spherical unicellular body protected by a thick wall. And this some non-flowering plants such as mosses, ferns and molds reproduce by spore formation. Now children, in this like a sexual one, we are going to also discuss vegetative reproduction. Sexual reproduction we will discuss at last. Vegetative reproduction means when the plant produced by different parts of the plant. We call that vegetative reproduction. Okay, when new plants are produced from the vegetative parts of the mother plant such as root, stem or leaves without the help of any reproductive organ is known as vegetative reproduction. I am going to discuss some example like potato. It's a stem tuber. Okay, a potato has small buds on its surface called eyes. Each bud grows into new plants. Example of other stem like plant produced by their underground stem like ginger and onion also. And some other example, the plants reproduced by stem like strawberry and grasses. In strawberry and grasses, what happened? The main plant develops side shoots which have buds that grow into a new plant. Like the plant, it goes like this, and what happened? This is plant, this is stem. Okay, and this stem sideways it grows and touches the ground, develops root, and new plant grow from this side stem. So other example, strawberry and grasses. Now next we are going to discuss in vegetative reproduction leaves. In bryophyllum, children, the notches of the leaves, these are the notches. A baby plant grow here. When it the roots are there and the leaves are there in bryophyllum leaf. When these baby plant, it matures, it drops and fall and grow into a new plant. In plants, some plants like sweet potato is grown by cutting its swollen root. Sweet potato, you know, shakarkan, it grows by its swollen roots into part and planting them in the soil. In money plant, new plant can grow from shoot of the parent plant. So there are many more examples. Now come to the artificial methods. We are going to discuss artificial methods of vegetative reproduction. Like these artificial means done by, that was natural vegetative reproduction, that is natural. Artificial means done by man. Of vegetative reproduction, artificial methods, first is like cutting. Directly we cut the stem of hibiscus, bougainvillea, and we can grow a new plant. Okay, in this method what we do, a healthy young branch of a plant having leaf buds is cut off and planted in moist soil. The cutting develops root and grows into a new plant. This method is used to propagate plants like rose, bougainvillea and sugarcane and also hibiscus. Now next is grafting. What happened in grafting? In grafting, this method is commonly used in horticulture to develop new varieties of fruit plants. It consists of keeping a twig or bud of one plant, that is called scion, over the cut stem of another plant, and that is called stalk. And you know, we take the scion of like the plant which we want to grow, and stalk is a base plant, and tying them up to together. The stalk should have an extensive root system under the soil. The tissue of the stalk and scion join together to form one plant. The stalk supplies the essential nutrient to the scion. Now layering, we can also grow the plant by layering. What happened in this? Some plants, they develop that, like bougainvillea and all we say. Okay, the branches are there. We take one branch and we can just bury in the soil. Okay, after some time this portion, there is now an independent plant. Okay, the branch can now be cut and made to grow into new plant. This method is called layering. Okay, now next is very important, that is what? Tissue culture. In tissue culture, children, in this method, a piece of tissue is cut from the growing tip of plant. The cells are separated and kept in a nutrient medium under controlled condition. The nutrient medium contains hormones that make the cell divide and form groups of cells. Roots also develop. These are then kept in a different nutrient medium containing hormones that enable shoot to develop. The different plantlets can grow, now be grown in pots of soil. Example, chrysanthemum, orchids, asparagus. Okay. There are many advantages and disadvantages of vegetative reproduction. Next, we are going to discuss what sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction. Okay. In sexual reproduction, there are two parents are required. Okay, male and female. Each parent produces one reproductive cell or gamete. The male parent produces the male cell and the female parent produces the egg cell. And when these two fuse together, they form zygote, and this process is called fertilization. Now we are going to discuss sexual reproduction in plants. Some flowers like rose, sweet pea contain both male and female reproductive organs. They are called hermaphrodites and are known as complete or bisexual flowers. Complete flowers have stamens, pistil, petals and sepals. Other flowers like corn and papaya contain only male or only female reproductive organ. They are called incomplete or unisexual plants. Children, in anther, the male part like anther, they are having male gametes. They are called pollen grains. Pollen grains contain male gametes. Okay, pollen grains, they have to move from anther to the stigma of the flower. This is male part, and the female part is stigma, style, ovary. This is stigma, style and ovary. Ovary contains ovule, that contains female gamete. Ovule contains female gamete. How this pollen grain reaches to this female gamete? What happened after pollination? The pollen grain, they drop on this stigma, and this secrete a kind of sugar that dissolves the wall of this, taken up by this pollen grain and dissolve the outer wall. It develops tube. It is like this outer wall and inner wall, and inside this male gamete. What happened? This outer wall dissolves, this inner wall convert into tube-like structure, and this male gamete travels in this tube. When this male gamete reaches to the ovule, okay, so this is male gamete, this is ovule, and this male gamete come and fuse with this female gamete. When these both male and female gametes, they fuse, they form double-walled zygote, and this process is called fertilization. Okay, after pollination, I told you a thin tube called the pollen tube grows down from the pollen grain through the pistil. The pollen tube carries the male cell. It grows until it reaches the ovule and enters it. The male cell moves into the ovule and fuses with egg to form the zygote. Children, this ovary swells up and forms fruit, and these ovules, they turn into seeds. Rest parts, they wither away, they dry up and they wither away. Dispersal of seeds take place by different ways, by wind, water and animals, and then these seeds, when they get suitable condition, they start germinating. Okay, so that's all children. Thank you.